Welcome to our January Public Schools Regular Board of Education meeting. Give me a second, thank you very much. So I will call the meeting to order as this is our organizational meeting, and in a little bit we'll jump to our election of officers. But if I could get a pledge of allegiance, if we could all rise for that, I would appreciate it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. And Ms. Oxley, if we could get a roll call, please.
Present.
Here.
Here.
Here. Here. Here. Here.
All right. Next up is the approval of the agenda. So I would take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Brown.
Support.
Brown and Hunt. Thank you very much.
Question, Jeff? I need the minutes to be adjusted. Is this where I asked for that at, or at some other port? For the minutes?
Where are we at? You would like to pull the minutes out?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so can I get, if I could, maybe one more time, a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Ms. Hamilton? Ms. Hunt? All right, and so all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody. All right, next up is the organizational portion of our meeting. This happens annually. Lots of this is rote, but we'll go through some of that. The very first thing, though, is the election of officers. And bear with me here while I get my page opened up. All right, I am seeking nominations for the office of president.
I would like to nominate Angela Mitchell for president.
Thank you very much. Are there any other nominations? All right, hearing none at this time, I'll close the nomination process. All those in favor for Angela Mitchell for president, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
I'd like you to list me as abstaining from that vote.
I don't know that you can abstain.
Okay, then I'll vote no.
Ms. Hamilton is a no vote.
No.
All right. Ms. Mitchell, Madam President, I turn the meeting. We need to swear you in, if I could. If you'll raise your right hand.
Okay.
I state your name.
I, Angela Mitchell,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will abide by the bylaws, rules, and regulations
that I will abide by the bylaws, rules, and regulations
of the Board of Education
of the Board of Education
and shall faithfully discharge the duties
and shall faithfully discharge the duties
of my office as president
of my office as president
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
Welcome. All right,
Thank you.
The rest of the meeting is yours.
Okay, thank you. Welcome. All right, next we are on election of vice president. So at this time, are there nominations for that?
I'd like to nominate Libby Brown for vice president.
Okay, are there other nominations?
I would like to nominate Pam Fitzgerald for vice president.
Okay, and at this time, are there any others? Okay. So Mrs. Oxley, can you do the roll call vote?
So
Will we do each one separate?
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
do them separate. So for roll call.
Oh, just the normal?
Ms. Hamilton?
For Libby Brown, yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
For who, Libby?
Oh, for me.
Mr. White?
We're selecting which vote for, okay, for Pam.
Mr. Minetti?
Pam Fitzgerald.
Mrs. Fitzgerald? Ms. Hunt?
Pam Fitzgerald.
And Mrs. Mitchell?
Pam Fitzgerald.
Ms. Fitzgerald, if you'll. I state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will abide by the bylaws and rules and regulations of the Board of Education and shall faithfully discharge the duties of my office as Vice President to the best of my knowledge and ability.
Okay, thank you. Next, number 3 is election for secretary. So at this time, are there nominations for that?
That's a huge weakness on my part, you know that? I would like to nominate, are we doing treasurer or secretary? Secretary. Cheryl Simonetti for secretary. Which one we're starting here.
Okay, are there other nominations for secretary? Okay. Hearing none. Okay. Oh, are we just, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Cheryl?
All right. I state your name.
I, Cheryl Simonetti,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will abide by the bylaws,
that I will abide by the bylaws,
rules, and regulations
rules, and regulations
of this Board of Education
of this Board of Education,
and shall faithfully discharge the duties
and shall faithfully discharge the duties
of my office as Secretary
of my office as secretary
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
Thank you for your service.
Okay, thank you. And next up is the election of treasurer. So at this time, are there nominations for that?
Jeez. I'd like to nominate Aaron White for the office of treasurer.
Okay, are there any other nominations? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Aaron?
All right, Aaron. Last one, my friend. I state your name.
I, Aaron White,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will abide by the bylaws,
that I will abide by the bylaws,
rules, and regulations of this Board of Education
rules, and regulations of this Board of Education,
and shall faithfully discharge
and shall faithfully discharge
the duties of my office as treasurer
the duties of this office as treasurer
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for your service.
thank you. We are on line item 21-22-64, organizational resolutions.
All right. All right, so the organizational resolutions, again, this comes around every year. So what we're going to be asking for is that the board ratify the following, the following resolutions: schedule and time, place of our 2022 regular board meetings. We have 5:45 here in the Jackson Library on January 18th, February 15th, March 15th, April 19th, May 17th, June 21st, July 19th, August 16th, September 20th, October 18th, November 15th, and the one non-third Tuesday is December 13th, and that's because the third Tuesday would fall during the holiday break. For legal advertisements, we advertise with the MLive Media Group and the Jackson Blazer. And the committees and charges, the president of the Board of Education shall appoint members to the organized committees. If you have a desire to serve on one of these committees, please let Angela know. The County School Board Association, which meets the first Saturday of the month at 9, Jackson Parks and Recreation Department, the Board Finance Committee, the Board Policy Committee, and the Board District Improvement Committee. We have organizational memberships, Michigan Association of School Boards, the Jackson Lunch Rotary Corporation, Nonprofit Network, Greater Jackson Chamber of Commerce, and the Jackson County NAACP. Delegation of election duties. The Secretary of the Board of Education delegates election duties to the elections officer for the Jackson Public Schools Board. That is, oh crying out loud, why did my brain go? Election officer upstairs. Lori Nearpass. Yes. Sorry, my brain just died on me. Lori Nearpass. And then the annual retainer, we resolve that Brendan Beer from the law firm of Abbott, Thompson, Malden, Parker, and Beer, PLC, shall continue as legal counsel for the board during the 2022 calendar year. And the administration recommends that we adopt these organizational resolutions as presented.
Okay, so at this time, I would entertain a motion for the board to adopt the organizational resolutions as presented for the 2022 calendar year.
So moved.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Libby. Any deliberation?
Just a question. What is the delegation of election duties? What exactly does Ms. Nearpass do? What's this?
She works with the county clerk's office and for all of our polling locations.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can I ask, when does school start in August? Do you know?
Yeah, we do. I'll still. August 24th next year. Yep.
Okay, anything else? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next line item is 21-22-65, the financial resolutions.
Each year, the Board of Education must designate the financial institutions in which the funds of the district will be deposited. At the current time, Comerica Bank is the district's main depository. Comerica Bank charges about $40,000 per year to maintain our accounts. The benefit is to safeguard the district's funds and to provide investment income. The budget impact, there is no impact since the fees charged are included in the 2021-22 budget, and they're partially offset by our interest income. The administration recommends approval of the following depository institutions: Comerica Bank as our primary, County National Bank, Huntington Bank, True Community Credit Union, Baker Tilly, My Class, and the PFM.
Okay, so at this time, I would entertain a motion for approval of the following depository institutions: Comerica Bank, County National Bank, Huntington Bank, True Community Credit Union, Baker Tilly, is it My Class? Sorry, and PFM. Okay, thanks, Pam.
Second.
Thanks, Libby. Any deliberation? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next line item is 21-22-66, adoption of legal reference note.
All right. The revised school code requires school boards to adopt a legal reference note. It contains the following. The legal name of the school district is Jackson Public Schools. Jackson Public Schools is a general power school district under the Michigan law. The Board of Education is comprised of 7 members who are elected for terms of 6 years. Members holding office on January 1st, 2022, and expiration of their current terms are listed below. Aaron White, your term expires December 31st of 2022. Cheryl Simonetti, December 31st of 2022. Pam Fitzgerald, December 31st of 2024. Libby Brown, December 31st of 2024. Angela Mitchell, December 31st of 2024. Keisha Hamilton, December 31st of 2026. And Shalonda Hunt, December 31st of 2026. Members of the Board of Education are elected in even years in the November election. It is the administration's recommendation that the board adopt the legal reference note as presented.
Support. Okay, I would entertain a motion to adopt the legal reference note as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Libby. Thanks, Shalonda. Any deliberation? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next line item is 21-22-72, policy. Oh, nope. Oh, sorry. I'm out of order. Okay, number 6 is the superintendent's report. There we go.
All right, a couple of real quick highlights. For my portion, this is School Board Appreciation Month. Please know that your service to our school, to our students, to our employees and our community does not go unnoticed. We want to make certain that we say thank you each and every day because we are asked and quite often to make very difficult decisions. Sometimes they may not be the decision we want to make, but we recognize that we have an obligation to the district to continue to kind of move the district forward. So I want to make certain that I say thank you. We do purchase books to donate to JPS schools in your name. And so there is a list of books linked into your agenda. I see You Are Enough by Margaret O'Hare, I Am Me by Carla Cuskin, The Gingerbread Cowboy by Janet Squires, Dreamers by Yui Morales, I Am Enough by Grace Byers, Dragons Love Tacos, I gotta find that book, Adam Rubin, Thread of Love, Brian's Return, Maniac McGee, The Three Questions, The Rainbow Came Down, Rita and Ralph's Rotten Day, Each Kindness, The Day You Begin by Jacqueline Woodson, Big Shot Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Then there's some John Lewis books, March 1, March 2, and March 3. And then A Breath Too Late, one of the good ones, and The Sky Blues. So we want to say thank you again for that. I would also like, if I could, to take a very quick moment to brag about our early college. I know that you have followed this since we started, but I got a recent report that marked that 90% of the classes attempted in the Jackson County Early College were passed by high school students last semester. By the way, that's not just a little bit high, that's higher than almost any freshman in any college across our country. They outperform college freshmen. Average college freshman pass rate is 75%, to kind of put this in perspective, and our students are doing it at 90%. I want to say that last semester there were somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,800 college credits earned, and that's happening while students are completing their high school diploma. So I'll send out some more information on that, but I want to give a real shout out because it's a huge boon as these students continue to make their way towards some post-secondary education. Ms. Giannetti, I think you had a couple of things on your list.
I sure do. First of all, congratulations to the new officers for this year. We look forward to serving with you. And on behalf of Julie, William, and myself, we thank you for your service, for all that you guys do. We know what pressure you're under. We know what stress. We know what commitment it is. And we just want you to know that we know how great we are to work with, but we love working with you guys too. So thank you very much for the time and that you take away from your families to be a part of Jackson Public Schools. It's appreciated. First of all, you know, it's enrollment time, so it's kindergarten roundup. So we just met yesterday or today, I can't remember which, and we will be once again having kindergarten roundup in April with all of our partners. So we have a number of partners from the library to the Jackson, all of our preschools. We partner with the Center for Family Health, the YMCA, Jackson Saves, you name it, they're there. We actually will have an ELL table this year, which is first for us, so we're very excited about that. For those who do not speak English as a first language, we have a lot of information for them, as you guys have requested, that we do more of those things, so that's one of the things that we will have this year that we're very excited about. They are planned for April as usual. We have 7 elementaries, as you know, all of them are held at night, and you'll start to see all the promotion, billboards, everything that's out there that I normally do, plus a few more things things, interviews and things like that. And then there's some you won't see because we do a lot of digital communication and digital ads that don't necessarily come up in your feed because it may not be something that you're looking for. But otherwise, there'll be the normal print ads and everything. And so you get to see that over the next couple of weeks as we round up towards kindergarten roundup and young fives. So we will be doing those in person outside as we've done last year and doing the shirts that say class of 2035. Gosh, I don't even know if I'll make it that long. So we're very excited about that. It's also enrollment time. So you'll see a lot of push for our enrollment in different areas that, again, you may not see simply because it's not something that you're interested in, but we do a lot of geofencing and geo-tracking with our ads online in a couple of different areas. We are working on our website, and that will become live here pretty soon. And then I just kind of wanted to update you a little bit on the EOP, which is our Emergency Operations Plan. As we said in our last meeting, we are moving towards some specific goals for our committee this year. We got a little behind, about a week behind because of the COVID numbers, but we have now scheduled all of our so we sent out a form to all of our principals and all of our teachers and every person who is in a classroom to tell us about their doors in their classroom. This is one of our first priorities, is to look at every single door in the district. So we now have received most of those forms back, and we will be going out as a team to every single building and doing a full day inspection of every door of a classroom or common area to see where we need to be so we can go towards our universal, what are those called? Paracords for the doors. But we're also looking at, just the hardware. Do they push in? Do they push out? There's a lot of things that we'll be looking for on a checklist. And so Cabinet will be out with each of the principals, and we'll be doing that work over the next month. So we have scheduled all of those. Thank you, Michelle, to get those done. So we look forward to that part. That's going to be a big piece for us. And then from there, we'll be making a plan on what we'll be doing next and how we'll be making sure that that's all taken care of. As we get through that, we'll keep you posted on that. And other than that, I don't have much else that we're doing. We just attended the MLK breakfast, and as you guys may know, the college MLK celebration was postponed, and it is in March now. And our principal, Monica Pierce, will be honored at that. So if you are planning on going or haven't seen Michelle yet for a ticket, please let us know.
All right. That concludes the superintendent's report for the month of January.
Okay, thank you. We are on to number 7, the consent agenda. So at this time, I would entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you, Libby. Thank you, Pam. Any deliberation? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. We are on line number 8, citizens requesting to address the board. There's several. I can call you up one at a time, and you can have the table and the mic here. You have 5 minutes, and then there's just no back and forth.
Angela, when will we be doing the minutes? Would that be later for the adjustment?
Action.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so the first one is Gina Hastings. You can come on up.
Okay, thank you for having me. Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, I did notice, since you mentioned that the speakers are here are allowed to remove their masks to speak. Why is that? Well, it could be that we all know that masks interfere with communication, and that's why you let me take my mask off. Thank you. Is it easier to understand someone who is speaking without a mask on? I think so. You can see facial expressions that a mask would hide. I think that's important. So that's why I'm upset that you are requiring them for children. Masks are bad for kids' health. When kids wear masks, carbon dioxide builds up in the dead space volume of the masks that can lead to hypercapnia, which is too much CO2 in the bloodstream. It is pointed out that most of the complaints reported by children, such as irritability, headaches, and reluctance to go to school, can be understood as consequences of that elevated CO2 in their bloodstream. And psychologically, the long-term harm to kids from masking is potentially enormous. Masking is a psychological stressor for the children, and it disrupts their learning. Covering the lower half of the face of both the teacher and the pupil reduces the ability to communicate. In particular, children lose their experiences of mimicking expressions, which is an essential tool of nonverbal communication. Positive emotions such as laughing and smiling becomes less recognizable, and negative emotions get amplified. Bonding between teachers and students takes a hit. Overall, it's likely that masking does exacerbate a child's chance of experiencing anxiety and depression, which are already at pandemic levels themselves. Finally, we all wonder, did JPS's mandates work? Did the cases of COVID go up or down after your mandates went into place? I'm looking at that data now, and I will report back at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up, William Hastings.
Hi, my name is William Hastings. I'm a JPS parent. I'd like to begin tonight by thanking the school board for the many, many positive things that are happening in the Jackson schools, at Jackson High School in particular, whether they be the committed staff, excellent teachers, or the wealth of extracurricular programs and other academic offerings. The opportunities available here in this building for the engaged and truly motivated students are very impressive indeed. I would also like to thank the board, more specifically, for their recent decision to not close the doors of JPS after the recent winter holiday, as was the case in the Lansing Ann Arbor schools. With hindsight of the 2020-21 school year, it's become very obvious that there is a huge price to be paid in student engagement and basic learning and basic academic competencies when Zoom calls are the norm and not a rarity. So credit to you for keeping the doors of your schools open so far. Keep it up. It is vitally important that the doors of this school remain open, as the order and structure of the school day are as important to kids from poor and chaotic households and communities as they are to the academic high flyers and to everyone else in between. So thank you again, board members and Superintendent Beal, for keeping JPS open for business and not succumbing to media-driven or politically motivated hysteria. I challenge all of you to review the masking policies of the district, specifically in regard to how they socially, emotionally, and psychologically damage the youngest students especially. I have previously presented academic data to you supporting this view, which I will not repeat here. But your responsibility to the youngest students is profound, and the effects of masking should not be glossed over. I would direct your attention to the recent inauguration in Virginia of Governor Glenn Youngkin, a Republican who won election last fall in a state that Joe Biden carried by 10 percentage points just 12 months earlier. A prime mover in this state election was the large-scale efforts of parents who felt locked out, tuned out, and ignored by their local school boards on issues concerning the basic privacy and safety of their children, and deep concern about how leftist ideologies pushing the LGBT agenda and critical race theory were taking precedence over academic concerns. Literally, the first act of Governor Youngkin after he was sworn in and took office was to sign an executive order banning critical race theory and the teaching of other, quote, inherently divisive concepts in the public schools. This is an issue that will need to be comprehensively and thoroughly addressed here in Michigan, in Jackson, by JPS parents, this school board, and other interested parties. This issue is not going away anytime soon, I can assure you. Finally, I leave you with a small contribution towards your excellent Laundry Initiative program, which highlights how good ideas that positively impact kids in need are always welcome. Less ideology and more pragmatism is always a winning formula for schools as well as individuals. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up, is it Helen or Helene? Okay.
I'm Helena. I'm 11 years old, and a couple months ago, I spoke here regarding the mask mandate, and I also spoke at the county commission meeting regarding the mask mandate as well. I am wholeheartedly against this. It has now been 2 years, and the facts concerning the dangers of the masks are quite clear, and that is they do not work. In fact, they are so unhealthy and cause pneumonia as well as other illnesses that can very much portray the symptoms of this COVID. I would think that most people understand that viruses do not keep going and going. They die out. At this point, I know that this is not about a virus, it's about control. I need to see my friends' faces. I need to be able to understand my teachers in order to learn and grow. Shame on you people. This is a decision for my parents or doctor, not the school board of education. Finally, I just want to voice my dismay with this LBGQ+ and CRT, critical race theory, agenda in the schools. And the fact is that it is everywhere I look and have to discuss in my own classroom. Again, this is a topic that my parents should be talking to me about. I am in no way judging others. However, I do not like being confused as this thing is being shoved down everyone's throats. In closing, no one should have to ask to breathe the air God gave us. Unmask us, please. Thank you for your time. God bless you.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Marilyn Echterdahl.
Hi, everyone. I wasn't thinking that I was going to speak tonight. And then I had no idea that there was a mask mandate. My dad went here. I went here. My 2 siblings went here. My kids went here. Some of you know me. I see Libby, you know, my kids, and William. There are so many studies. I didn't bring them with me. I think you've probably seen them, but there's no statistical evidence that masks work. There's numerous studies. I'm sitting back there. I kind of even laughed to myself. I have my glasses on, and they're fogging up, and I had to keep taking them down. The masks are 0.4 microns, and the viruses are only 0.1. So it's like taking a mosquito going through a tennis net. I don't know if it makes people feel better to wear a mask. I know that has been something, that it gives them something, because there's so much fear. But I am a licensed professional counselor, and I had to go and change my office because the office I had, they wanted me to wear a mask with little tiny children, and I couldn't do it. And so I had to change my whole office. You know, I think it's real interesting also. I've had COVID. I'm 65. I kind of really didn't know I did. I kind of had a little bit of arthritis pain. And my mom was 94, and she survived COVID, and my whole family has had COVID, and they've survived. And I think there are treatments. When I was getting a master's degree, I subbed. Pam, I think I talked to you years ago, but from 2005 until 2008, and I actually liked it. Kids would run to me and say, "Will you be our sub?" Because I would come in with my Mary Poppins bag, and I'd read them a story and give them a moral story, Aesop's, you know, and I'd be the wolf, and I'd teach them how to, you know, you shouldn't be lying, and the boy that cried wolf, and I had an awesome Genghis Khan story. And honestly, I don't think, I'm retiring. I was thinking, gosh, I'd love to go back to, you know, substitute teaching again. And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't think I could wear a mask all day. And I just don't think I'd be effective with children either. So thank you so much, though. I know that you're not getting paid to hear all of us speak tonight, but I know all of you really helped my kids. You know, I just, to this day, am so thankful what you did for my son, Nick. So thank you. I usually don't cry. Well, actually, I do cry every day, so I'm going to cry now. So anyways, thank you for your service and everything you do.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer Bittinger.
Thank you. Last month, when I attended the meeting here, I just felt compelled that I had to express my great concern and personal anger that our public schools are supporting and promoting the so-called vaccinations for our young children. We expect the leaders of our education system to research the facts and and act accordingly, not go along with the rich and powerful that are behind the pharmaceutical industry and media. I realize that there is so much misleading information out there, but the truth is out there if you research it and search for it. Even the government organizations now are being forced to put out the truth. The facts that, first of all, the masks, which people have been talking about, like this wonderful woman said, are ineffective for doing it. So why are we doing that? Why are we pushing that on our society? Why are you all here in a mask? I still can't understand that. But as far as the vaccinations, that is the extremely dangerous thing. The facts are that very few children had serious complications with the virus going through until our government decided to push the shot onto them. And now there are so many reported deaths of our children, actually reported deaths on sites. There are so many that probably aren't reported of our children and many more serious adverse health effects following the shot. And all this after they are now publicly stating that the shot is not a vaccination. It will not keep you from getting the virus. It will only put harmful things into our children's bodies. So many of our parents and citizens have been coming to me and crying out to the public for help. So I just ask you to please check the facts. Please educate yourselves. Please take a stand to protect our children from the harmful shot and educate them with truth. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And next up, Catherine, I don't want to mess up your last name. Kiersmaker.
Good evening. I'm not here to talk about masks or COVID. And as a former board member, my heart goes out to you. My name is Catherine Kiersmaker. I live at 1116 South Durant Street, just behind the new Cascade School. To the south of Cascade School is an acre of land with very old oak trees. This acre of property was included in the sale to the ISD when they purchased Frost School. On December 14th, my neighbor pointed out to me that there were 10 trees with ribbons around them that said caution. And he told me that they were going to be cut down to put in a parking lot and a bus pass-through for the ISD. I contacted Kevin Oxley, superintendent of the ISD, to ask if the parking lot and bus pass-through could be moved to the south side of Frost School. And he told me that that property was owned by the county. So I talked with Steve Shotwell, who's the chairman of the county commission, and asked if the property on the south side of Frost could be sold to the ISD to move the parking lot and the bus turnaround. So Mr. Shotwell suggested that there could possibly be a land swap, saving the trees. And he, excuse me, he asked that I write a letter to Mr. Overton and himself explaining the situation, which I did. On January 4th, the Jackson County Audubon Society Big Tree Coordinators, Monica Day and Peg Clevenger, surveyed the trees. The trees are white oak and bur oak, and using a widely used calculation to determine the tree age, they found that the smallest trees in that lot are 191 years old. That dates back before Michigan excuse me, became a state. The other large trees are 300 years old, which means that they were here around 1731, before we were a nation. The trees can live up to 500 years of age. They are healthy trees, they're not diseased. These trees are drought tolerant and fire resistant. And when we had that Category 0 tornado a few years ago, those trees withstood that great wind, and they were not damaged. Our neighborhood has a high water table, and Jackson County is the headwater of 5 rivers. These mature oaks provide an ecosystem by absorbing water through their roots. One large tree can soak up 100 gallons of water a day. That's one of the reasons why when you built the new Cascade School, you put in a holding pond on the north side of the school when you dug the foundation. If you plant 10 trees for each one that would be destroyed, they would never make up for the aged trees and the impact they have on the environment in cleaning CO2. One mature tree can capture the same amount of carbon emissions as what driving a car 1,500 miles emits. One tree can absorb up to 2 pounds of air pollution a year. There has been no environmental impact done on removing these trees. The issue that if those trees are removed, the neighborhood would flood after a good rain. Cascade School would flood after a good rain. Cascade School is on the same level as that acre of land. So I come to you today to urge you to maybe contact the ISD, because there are, I'm going to say, 3 members on the direct board, not the members that you have selected, thank you, who feel that it's not necessary to worry about these trees and the environment or the neighborhood. So I would suggest that we all be good neighbors, as Mr. Oxley would say, and call him and ask him to save those trees, if not for the environmental sake,
Okay,
for the
thank you.
historical sake. Thanks.
Okay, we are on number 9, discussion items, 21-22-72, policy 8321, criminal justice information security, the first reading. Mr. Beal.
All right, 8321, so I won't say period, I'll just say periodically, the state does an audit of our fingerprinting process, and they did such an audit in August. It was a clean audit. They were very pleased with our procedures. The only recommendation that they had was a minor change to our policy 8321, and they would like to add 1 sentence to this policy. Our policy is good in all respects, and the only change that they are asking, and I'm bringing it before the board, has to do with transportation. And so it basically says that anytime we transport digital or physical media specific to fingerprints, that all transport will be in a locked container or sealed envelope. That is literally the addition to this policy. And so I would recommend this. This is first reading. I'd be happy to have any discussion on it. If you have questions, you can hit me up over the next month, but please know I'll be bringing this back for action so that the next time the state comes down to do an audit and they say, hey, last time we were here, we made this recommendation, we could say, yep, we were on it. So that's my recommendation at this time. There's not a whole lot to this.
Okay, thank you. We are on number 10, action items. So first, we will do the minute. Yep, the minute one that was pulled, 21-22-67. Ms. Hamilton?
Yep, so just one correction on here. I was quoted incorrectly. Under the superintendent evaluation for last month, 21-22-61, it says Ms. Hamilton questioned why the rating went from highly effective to effective and would like the community to understand. I commented, I didn't question. I understood why he went from highly effective to effective, and I would like the record to reflect that I commented that that's what occurred, not that I questioned it.
Okay. Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes
We have to,
as amended.
we have to approve a change in the misquote?
We're going to approve the amended minutes. So we're going to make that change to say commented instead of questioned. And then we'll approve the minutes as amended.
Okay, so moved.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you, Keisha. Thanks, Libby. Any further deliberation on that? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next line item is 21-22-73, superintendent goals. Jeff? Is me, okay. Hang on. Okay. Okay, so the superintendent goals for 2022, Jeff will create, there's 3 goals. The first one, Jeff will create a friendlier, more inviting, and inclusive volunteer policy, which will include a volunteer handbook, easier and prominent access on our webpage, as well as a formal invitation to appeal for every eligible denial. The second one, Jeff will create and provide individual professional development based on the needs of the building and the needs of the instructor. This was an area of concern on his most recent evaluation. A report of the professional development provided and the training completed will be provided to the Board of Education. And the third goal, Jeff will continue to implement a district-wide initiative around diversity, equity, and inclusion. The initiative will develop district-wide goals that will create a rich experience for all of our students, greater equity and access for our families, and a system of support for our staff. Okay, let me get some more paper. So at this time, I would entertain a motion for approval of the 2022 superintendent goals. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Cheryl. Any deliberation?
Yes. Okay. And we already spoke, Jeff and I did on these, so he won't be surprised at these comments. But the top goal, actually I have comments on all 3 of them, so, I don't know if we want to take one at a time as far as for commentary among each other, but for the first goal, he'll create a more inviting and inclusive volunteer policy.
Just 1 second.
Yep.
I think it's Libby. Libby, could I get, thanks. I think that's the feedback.
Okay, that better? Thank you. Okay, so on this volunteer policy, Jeff made it clear when we spoke that he had difficulty with having more volunteers because of COVID, which makes absolute sense because we don't want, extra people in the buildings, et cetera. So it's hard for us to measure this goal, at least during that time, last year. Not that this was a goal, but it would have been hard had we been measuring it. With Omicron and COVID still being here, the measurement of this goal is going to be almost impossible. Because we won't be really expecting people to come in because we're still in the midst of COVID and Omicron and whatever else might pop up later on throughout this year. So this goal is not going to be measurable. Now the idea as far as creating a more inclusive and inviting volunteer policy, which you all remember, I think it was August or September, I brought that to the table, that I would like for this board to make a better, and more inviting volunteer policy. I'm in agreement with. I like the idea of us doing that. When we had our meeting on how to do that, Jeff himself found, some more inviting examples to choose from, and mentioned that, a matter of copying and pasting the language, changing the names out, which I agreed with, could be, that's how easy we could get this, volunteer policy updated, which I agree with, that there's no reason to recreate or, reinvent the wheel when other people have the wording that you want. That being said, creating, making a more inviting and inclusive volunteer policy is simply a matter of copying and pasting at this point for this goal. Primarily, again, because we are in the midst of COVID. People are not going to be coming in to volunteer, and so we won't be able to measure this goal. I do think we should still update our policy, but making this as one of his goals would be pointless because, again, we can't measure it. And creating this updated version is a matter of copy and paste. It might take, 4 days to do that. I would suggest that we go back to student enrollment and retention as one of his goals to change that one out. We graduated here June of 2021, 212 students at JPS. We have a district count of roughly 4,678 students. Northwest graduated 205 students, which is just 7 students less, and they have a district count of roughly 3,620. So they're, at least a good 1,000, more than 1,000 students less than us, and graduating just 7 students less than us. That's concerning for me. And we as a board should be concerned about that as well, because that says something about what's going on in our district. We don't want to be another Albion in another 5 years where we have to farm out our students because we don't have, because people aren't choosing us. We want people to believe the hype, and the hype should be that people are choosing us, and that's not what our graduating class is saying. So I would suggest that we change that goal to, and make it measurable. We all know about the SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and then within the time frame. Not only retaining our students, but I would like to see us add 50 students. Now, if that's unrealistic, then let's come up with a number that is realistic. But enrolling, so keeping what we have right now, 4,678, and adding an additional 50 students to that, I would like to see that be a goal, because again, this one is, it won't be measurable, and you can't even really accomplish it this year because of COVID. Do you want me to keep going for 2 and 3, because I have commentary on those 2 as well? Okay, so 2, his goal for Jeff will create and provide professional development based on the needs of the building and the needs of the instructor. This was an area of concern on his most recent evaluation. So my personal evaluation of Jeff, this was not a concern for me, professional development of our teachers. I am aware, just like everybody on this board and all of you all sitting in the audience, that there was much that was not being done during COVID, those 2 years, 20 and 21. So that was not a concern for me. Professional development occurs realistically all the time for teachers. That's just a part of, kind of like the process that they go through. Yes, we weren't able to do it during COVID, during that time because of COVID, which made absolute sense. So that I wouldn't have, and I did not grade him low on that, because that would be unfair to say, professional development is not being offered and you didn't give professional development. Well, you couldn't give it because it wasn't being offered. So the professional development, that now things are opening up, and so we should be able to do more out there with it. And so I'm glad that Jeff is considering just starting back up, but again, it was going to be happening anyways. I would like to see us focus on professional development with our staff, teachers, and whoever, and everybody that's touching our students, emotional support. So a lot of times staff development, and Jeff mentioned the specifics or some examples of different professional development that he will be looking to get the teachers and different ones, and they were around academics, which makes sense. We want our teachers to, be where they need to be so they can properly teach our students. But what we're not focusing on, which COVID and Omicron and this whole last few years have shown us, is the emotional support, the ability for our teachers to be able to connect with these students at a deeper level, an emotional level, to connect with parents, the disagreements that students and teachers are having with each other, that parents and teachers are having with each other. We're not focused on that type of professional development. If we're going to make this as one of your goals, I would like to see the professional development be specific. Now, and then not only specific, again, we're talking goals that have to be SMART, so they need to be measurable. We need to be able to say at the end of the year when we're getting ready to do just an evaluation, okay, this was your goal, what was the result of it? So, it'd be easy to say, well, we had a bunch of people go through these professional development classes. Okay, now what did that do for you? Anybody who's running their own business, you know that when you put someone through some type of training, you expect them to operate or to operate through it, and within that new training, you expect them to do something different. You expect them to do better. Well, not only do I want to see our teachers do emotional support, and these might not be the best terms for the type of trainings, but training for emotional support, mental health, relationship building. After they do that training, I would like to see us survey our students and our parents and say, do you notice a difference between the way that your teachers are dealing with you? So that we can measure what these trainings are doing for them. It's one thing for us to just continue training, and different people do that all the time, just train, which makes for the recipe for disaster and failure to begin to occur. But what are we doing with that training? So I want to see if we were to change this to emotional support, mental health, awareness, training on how to engage with students, relationship building between parents and students, between teachers and parents, teachers and students, then I would like for us to, evaluate that, send surveys out. How is this working for you as parents and to students? The last one is Jeff will continue to implement a district-wide initiative around diversity, equity, and inclusion. This initiative will develop district-wide goals that will create a rich experience for all of our students, greater equity and access for our families, and a system of support for our staff. I mentioned this last year when I first got on the board. JPS has gone through an equity audit, I think 4 years ago now. It might be 5 years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago. It's more than 3 years for sure that JPS has gone through this equity audit, which included, statistically, all the things that were wrong, all the things that, they included things we did good, and they included a lot of things that we're not doing good, which is why we had this audit. You got to get a baseline of where you are. It shouldn't be, a bad thing to realize that, I need to improve. So this equity audit showed us all these areas that we need to improve. And we haven't done much with that except gotten more training, just more book reading. Now, to be clear, I understand Jay Marks is here. I don't know if he's a doctor or not. Is he a doctor? Okay, so Dr. Marks, because I want to definitely make sure I give him his due. But Dr. Marks is here, and I understand that he's doing a lot of professional training. He's excellent, okay? He's amazing. He's going to give us some great information. The quality of the information is not the concern as much as doing something with it. So here we are again with another professional development goal that was very similar to last year's, as far as we're going to get more training around DEI, which my point last year was, what are we doing with it? And so I see that we're saying here, we're going to develop district-wide goals. My concern is, and we don't have examples, maybe you brought some examples, but my concern is, we've gotten this training, we have specifics in the equity audit that we could be doing to change and to address these equity audit areas where we came in low. Here we are, another year out where this whole board has gone through training, you're going through training, the district is going through more training, and again, training, and we're not doing anything with it. So if we're going to keep that goal, and I understand you're planning to have these district-wide meetings. When are these meetings going to be set up? And then how soon will you begin to implement whatever comes out of it? And I would like to have some examples. Jeff, maybe, and we talked about this, so hopefully you have brought some examples of different areas now, and I appreciate you when we talked on the phone. You mentioned that you don't want to come up with those goals yourself. You want to allow the community to have input on that. Now, mind you, we're talking 4 years out from an equity audit that already suggested that we have community input, parent input, student input on how to improve. We were supposed to be having a school improvement, something going on which died out. I'm not sure what happened with that. But here we are, facing another year of talking about meetings. But, we should have some ideas. Now, like I said, I do think it's appropriate to make sure that we're including the community in the conversation. But when are you planning to have that meeting, and how soon do you begin, intend to jump on the goals that are created? And what are some areas that you are specifically looking at? You're the expert here. You've been, like I said, through all these different trainings. You know, we've got 4 years out. What are some specific areas that you're looking at? That's what I would like to see as far as how we can measure this goal, because none of these goals can be measured right now. You know, and we need to be able to measure them. They should be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and they should have a time frame on them. Thank you.
Okay, any other deliberation? Cheryl?
I would add a couple comments. In my recollection of our discussion on the volunteer policy, I certainly think, I agree that maybe the appeal for every eligible denial may not be very measurable if we don't have volunteers and if we don't have denials, but I think certainly creating a volunteer handbook and website prominence is certainly measurable. We either do it or we don't. I mean, I think those are pretty black and white. We should be able to measure those. And then as far as the professional development goes, I believe that Jeff's comment is totally accurate as far as it being a concern on its most recent evaluation. It was the lowest score that he got on the evaluation was on staff development. And I think that needs to stay.
Okay, anything else? Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
What are we voting on?
These goals.
Are we changing them, or are we just leaving them as they are? Is that what we're saying?
There was there was a motion on the table for these goals that I read. So all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, we are on number 11, board comments. So Keisha?
Thank you. So last month, I brought up the issue of Jeff's, in his evaluation, he was requesting a increase in pay and also an extension on his term. I mentioned to the community at that time and to this board as well that I had questions on why each year Jeff was getting a raise. And I wanted to talk to a lawyer to understand if it was fiscally responsible and just to understand what was actually going on, to really have a second pair of eyes look at it and see if what I thought I was seeing was what I was seeing. I was able to speak with our MASB lawyer, and he did confirm that what I thought I was seeing is what was occurring. There was an addition, a raise being requested that was not listed in the contracts each year, which just speaks to a lack of oversight on this board's part to recognize that these numbers were changing each year. One year, there was a typo for sure. That one year it was just seemingly anyways, I can't say for sure, but it did seem to just be a simple typo. But of the 7 years, 2014 to now, 7 or 6, 7 years? Of the 5 years that I questioned, one was just simply a typo. I just thought it was important to let the community know that that is what I found. Again, I was not questioning the legality of the raises, because I recognize that if this board is giving them to him, if this board is not focused or paying attention to the different ways that the numbers are changing, that's really just on us. But I did wonder if what I'm seeing is correct and if it was fiscally responsible or not. Our lawyer was more focused on the legality of it, which I kept trying to explain to him. That was not my issue, so we couldn't really get to the fiscally responsible part. But it has been occurring, and hopefully this board will take better notice of that, in the future. Thank you.
Hey, Libby?
I'd like to thank Tatter, for, even though I couldn't participate in the dinner. Brant always puts on a good, excellent dinner, and I'm glad that we have him in charge of food services, and just wanted to give a shout out to all his good work.
I just want to give kudos to the progress that's being made Unfortunately, I think there's a very clear agenda that comes up board meeting after board meeting of a direct attack on Jeff's career. I think it's fair game if there's anything whatsoever that we find with the superintendent that we call out. But I've been contacted by numerous community members from all different walks of life that see the very clear agenda right now, and it's incredibly disturbing. And I would say that it's a complete waste of time, mostly for the people that supported you and voted for you. And I am talking about you, Keisha.
Thank you, Aaron, for calling me out, so I know that.
Is it my turn? Okay, I have three things. First of all, you'll see at the bottom of your agenda that the ambassador auction this year is going to be online. So it's not a dinner and auction, but the ambassador auction. And I was contacted again to see if the board was interested in donating a basket. We've done it every year, and to Pam's request, we have a history of offering chocolate. So I hope that you would all be willing to support a donation to the basket for the ambassador's dinner. If we keep it chocolate, we can discuss that. If you can either bring your item to Michelle or bring it to the February meeting, and I'll put the basket together for the March online auction. And then I would like to be sure that we put board goals maybe on the February agenda. And the most important thing to me for board goals would be to finalize our board norms and then to live up to them. And then the other thing I want to say is that in 2021, I was able to earn my level 3 MASB certification. And I don't say that for myself, but I say that to thank Mr. Beal, because without the educational offerings we had in the past year, I would have never had the earned credits to achieve that. So thank you, Mr. Beal.
I just wanted to say how well I think things went. The whole COVID thing obviously has disrupted, well, the world, not just us. But I think that our vacation time, the kids coming back, transitioning in, went much more smoothly than it would have without tons and tons of preparation that has been done in the what-if categories. What if this happens, we'll do this. What if this happens, we'll do that. And because of the preparation and because of the paying attention to history, I wanted to thank you, Jeffrey. It was wonderful to have things run so smoothly, the kids knowing what to expect and parents knowing what to expect. Thank you.
I don't have any comments tonight. Okay, I too would just like to thank Jeff for all your continued hard work for the district. It does not go unnoticed. I think your goals are great, and I'm very glad that you're the superintendent here. Thanks for all the board appreciation stuff. The meal was great, and Happy New Year.
All right, I'm going to make comment, Keisha, to your, this is the second board meeting in a row where you've questioned whether or not I have received raises for which the board has approved. I have provided you with those numbers, and now I'm going to request that the board call in our district counsel, Brendan Beer, who I did put you in touch with, so that he can walk you through the contract, so that it will help you understand that every year, every contract, the raise that I got was the raise that was approved by the Board of Education.
Thank you. Jeff, I already mentioned.
Thank you.
No, but I'm going to make a statement.
No,
because
Ms.
I'm going to make a
Hamilton.
statement. I'm going to make a statement. Thank you.
No, we
I'm
are
going to
on
make a
number
statement.
12.
That's
There
fine. I'm
is
going to
no
make a
new
statement, though.
business.
Jeff, like
Number-
I mentioned, I talked to MASB's.
Keisha, your comment time is done.
No, it's not fair.
So
for
we
him.
are on number
Anyways, like I
13.
said, I did speak to him, and my question was
calendar.
not whether or not you, it was legal what you were doing.
February
It was just a
10th
question
is the
of if I was seeing that correctly or not.
JCBA
And
annual
Aaron, to
meeting
you,
dinner. You
please
need to
have
RSVP
those,
to
committee
Michelle.
members reach out to
February
me directly.
15th
Thank you.
is the next meeting, and March 11th is the JHS Viking Ambassador Online Auction. So at this time, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Support. Thank you. Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you. Have a good night.